It's Saturday morning cartoons, and it really is Saturday morning cartoons for me. Excuse me if I'm just a couple of minutes late this morning, because everything that I had planned to talk about this morning, all of a sudden, in just the last few minutes, I've just completely changed my mind and I'm going to talk about something else. But maybe I shouldn't have mentioned it because perhaps you'd have never known. But anyway, that's why I'm sort of scattered and unprepared this morning. I hope you're having a good weekend. I just got back with my coffee, so excuse me for a second while I worship. Oh, may my mouth be the essence of the joy of the earth. Okay, where do I start? Well, I will start by saying that I was originally thinking about talking about bibliomancy, and I'll talk about bibliomancy maybe tomorrow or sometime soon. And I was gearing all up on my walk to the coffee shop, thinking about the bibliomancy and the spiritual forces and intelligences behind such a divinatory method. So it's just and I was going to talk about bibliomancy and the Shakespeare oracle and the Mark Twain oracle, and I was going to encourage you and give you suggestions on to make your own techniques of bibliomancy. You'll notice on the end pages there, you see that gray area there. That gray area for the Book of Ordinary Oracles is little thumbnail messages. Okay, little arbitrary, crazy little messages, so that the book itself could be used as bibliomancy. They're almost like fortune cookie type things. So. But I was reaching toward this in my downstairs library here, and when I pulled it out, this fell out and onto the floor. Okay, it's a copy of Fate magazine, and so I said, "Oh, gee, I'm in a hurry and everything else, and I want to talk about bibliomancy, and oh, shoot, that book jumps off of the floor. What an irritation." And then, of course, I think, you idiot, you're going to talk about bibliomancy, and a book or a book leaps out at you, and you're still thinking you're going to talk about this morning. So when I came to my magical senses, I said, maybe I better look at that. Okay. Now, over the years, I've written for Fate magazine, first of all, and these are the three that I've got articles in. Okay, and this is actually the cover article of October 2005. That's my little article there. And I've got something about Dee and Kelly, and then I got something about Goetic and Solomonic magic. But this one, I don't have an article in this one at all. And I was looking for my article in it, and so I thought, I don't know why I have this one. And until I found that I've been holding on to it because it's got, if I can find it quickly enough. It's got a review of Understanding Aleister Crowley's Thoth Tarot. So that's why I've hung on to this. Now, I'm as narcissistic as anyone, and perhaps I could be accused of being even more. It's maybe goes with the territory of being a magician, but I've been blessed over the years with many good reviews of my books, and I've been informed by other reviews that aren't so complimentary too. So I've got thin skin. I'm a Cancer. I'm a sensitive Cancer. I've got thin skin. I don't like bad reviews, but I really do love good reviews. And I thought, well, I'm not going to read a book review for my Saturday morning cartoons. That's stupid. And but I thought, well, I'll skim this review and see what it said, because this is 20 years ago. It's a very nice review, and I will share it with you, okay, at the risk of being accused. But what's blowing my mind is that the reviewer, who I didn't realize at the time, I just thought, well, there's another book review. It's David F. Godwin. Do you know who David F. Godwin is? I'm sure many of you do, and this is what blows my mind. Any ceremonial magician, English speaking anyway, probably has in their library several books concerning the Kabbalah. And the classic modern Kabbalists workbook. It's a workbook. It's not an entertaining book. It's a textbook full of tables and charts and things like that, all organized with under the categories of the 10 Sephira of the Tree of Life and the 22 Paths of the Tree of Life, and all of the correspondences, thousands and thousands of correspondences that are assigned to each of those 10 Sephiroth or 22 paths. And not only that, but a table of classic Kabbalistic Hebrew words that numerate to the same number as other famous Kabbalistic words taken from the Kabbalah Denudata, or the Pentateuch, the 5 books of Moses and stuff. This is, look how dog-eared this is. I got this in 1970 something to 1973, and I've got all sorts of notes all over it and everything else. I use it. I bet I use it nowadays 2 or 3 times a week. But in the old days, 2 or 3 hours a day, okay? Now, it's good. This is marketed today as Aleister Crowley's 777. And many of you already have one. But it has its limits. It was thrown together in the late 1800s, okay? It was compiled in the late 1800s. And for many of us, desirous of more complete, easier to read, and a better organized version of this many years ago picked up Godwin's Kabbalistic Encyclopedia. And it is the workhorse. It's magnificent. It's huge. It's brilliant. And I would be surprised if you didn't have one of these in your library and refer to it often when you're doing your Kabbalistic studies, when you're working with gematria and things like that. So I'm embarrassed that it didn't, 20 years ago when I first got this, that I wasn't, oh my God, David Godwin wrote this. I would have tried to track him down like a fanboy and say, "Wow, man! Thank you very much for this this review." And I was touched as I read it this morning, and that's why I'm going to share it with you. But let me say something about Fate magazine first. When I was, I tell this story all the time. When I was very young, a toddler, they discovered I had a bone disease in my hip, and they ordered me off my feet. I could walk, okay, I could walk, but it was painful, and every step I took and every ounce of weight that I put on my hip was ground the bone away even more. So I was forbidden to walk. And hopefully I would outgrow the situation, which eventually, by the time I was 14, I did. But my father's sister, Aunt Vina, she ran a beauty shop in Long Beach, just a few miles from where I was living in Lakewood. And my mother, from time to time, and between periods of bitter family feuding over God knows what, she would visit my Aunt Vina. And Aunt Vina had a beauty shop, and she lived in the back of the beauty shop. So I don't know if you're old enough to remember what the smell of a 1950, 51, 52 beauty shop smelled like, whatever the chemical they use for permanent waves. It had an incense of its own. Anyway, I remember so vividly, sort of crawling on the floor, because I couldn't get up. And it had sort of a beautiful, almost oriental carpet. And everything in the room smelled like cigarette smoke, because my Aunt Vina was a smoker. But that wasn't weird to me, because my father smoked too. But you could tell there was decades of tobacco smoke in the curtains and in the carpet. And she had these, this isn't interesting to you, but she had these like pedestal ashtrays and things like that. Well, I was playing with sort of a little device at the top of one of these pedestal ashtrays, reaching up to it, and there was a magazine rack. next to the ashtray in her easy chair. And in the magazine rack were little magazines like this. They were Fate magazines. And I loved them because I think the one that I was that I picked up and looked at had I don't think had flying saucers on it. Okay. And she had a bunch of these little things, and of course their size fascinated youngster, and I sort of thumbed through, and they were almost cartoonish kind of thing. This is 1950s, early 1950s, late 1940s, perhaps even edition, because Fate magazine was first published the year I was born, 1948. And I thought, how cool is that? And Aunt Vina must be really mystical or strange. I looked up Fate magazine just this morning to get some details. Fate is a U.S. magazine about, this is from Wikipedia, okay, about paranormal phenomena. Fate was co-founded in 1948 by Raymond A. Palmer, editor of Amazing Stories, and Curtis Fuller. Amazing Story. All of this goes hand in hand with Forrest Ackerman and other people that I would meet later in life. Ackerman, the Fangora, the horror movie guy. Anyway, I knew this would make me digress all over the place. Fate magazine is the longest running magazine devoted to the paranormal, promoted as, quote, the world's leading magazine of paranormal. It has published expert opinions and personal experience relating to UFOs, psychic activities, or psychic abilities, ghosts, and hauntings. Alternative medicine, divination methods, belief in survival of personality after death, Fortean phenomena, predictive dreams, mental telepathy, archaeology, warnings of death, and other paranormal topics. Though Fate is aimed at a popular audience, it tends to emphasize personal anecdotes about the paranormal. American writer and frequent Fate contributor Jerome Clark says the magazine features a substantial amount of serious research and investigation, and occasional debunking of dubious claims, such as debunking articles have included Atlantis, Bermuda Triangle, and the Amityville Horror. Okay, then it goes on and on and on. So Fate magazine is, and it's still going. It's still going. One more digression. Forgive me. Many years ago, I made the acquaintance and started a wonderful, lasting friendship with Donald Michael Craig. He's now the late great Donald Craig. We're both about the same age, raised in Southern California, knew the same buzzwords. Okay, we're Fate magazine kind of people, and we're both published by Llewellyn, or at least Llewellyn. I do some work with Llewellyn, and he inherited the editorship of Fate magazine. And every year when we'd ride up, he would drive us up to Pantheacon and we would talk about all of this stuff. So anyway, there's all sorts of connections to that, and it brings us to the Fate magazine that just jumped out at me on the day I was going to talk about bibliomancy. So I want to share with you the review by David Godwin of when Understanding Aleister Crowley's Thoth Tarot first came out. And I will blush a little, but I won't, but I'll accept the compliments, okay? Understanding Aleister Crowley's Thoth Tarot by Lon Milo DuQuette, and they spelled it correctly. Wiser Books, York Beach, Maine, 2003, paperback. It may seem strange to see a review of a tarot book in the pages of Fate. An exception is being made in this case. Let's see. Because of the book, the author, and the deck. The well-known magician, mystic, occultist Aleister Crowley created the Thoth Tarot late in life with the help of artist and student Frida Harris. He wrote a book to go with it, the Book of Thoth. Students of Crowley's system of magic have been struggling ever since to penetrate this highly technical and abstruse tome with varying degrees of success. But it's important for them to do so because the Thoth Tarot encapsulates Crowley's entire philosophy and worldview, as well as his unique system of magic, all included under the title Thelema. Under the rule of Thelema. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. And I might add, he's capitalized that absolutely correctly. This motto and the very word Thelema, Greek for will, were cribbed from Francis Rabelais, 1490 to 1553, via the 18th century Hellfire Club. But Crowley, or his holy guardian angel, added, love is the law, love under will, as well as every man and every woman is a star. And of course, do what thou wilt refers to your true will, the will of your divine self, rather than being a license to raise hell. Of course, Crowley did raise hell. I love this. Okay. Anyway, Lon Milo DuQuette has now made the task of comprehending the Thoth Tarot and Thelema relatively easy by this entertaining and thorough guidebook. Crowley's symbolism is discussed in exhaustive detail, and each card is described and examined with the author's expert and penetrating insight. Blush, blush. DuQuette is Deputy Grand Master of Crowley's Ordo Templi Orientis. No one is more qualified to write Understanding Aleister Crowley's Thoth Tarot. And of course, that's absolutely debatable. But he didn't say that. What really distinguishes the Thoth Tarot from hundreds of other tarot decks on the market is that the images were drawn by Frida Harris, an artist of no little ability. After examining these stunning cards, one wonders whether most tarot artists ever had courses in design or life drawing when and if they were in art school. The figures are not static and posed, but dynamic and evocative. Since being branded the wickedest man in the world in his lifetime by the sensationalist British tabloids, Crowley has had a rather shady reputation in many circles. To this day, it's common to see him misidentified as a Satanist. His major failing in Victorian eyes was that he was in favor of sex and had a dim view of Christianity as a religion of the old aeon. Indeed, Crowley's rebellion against his puritanical Plymouth Brethren upbringing often manifests in his mysticism in the form of images and schemata that may seem to have come from the mind of a dirty-minded little schoolboy rather than the premier magician of the 20th century. And apparently his visions convinced him that he really was the beast 666 of Revelation. But that does not mean that he was lacking in stunning insight or hauntingly accurate prophetic statements. Designed near the end of his life, the Thoth Tarot makes it all plain, if you have been properly instructed. DuQuette's book goes a long way toward properly instructing the reader. David F. Godwin. So that's my bibliomancy, my shameless plug, and an homage to the magical and Kabbalistic work of David F. Godwin. And that's where Saturday morning cartoons will end for today. We'll see you tomorrow for Sunday school. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law. Love under will.